That is the judgment people are making. People want Trump because they feel that they can trust Trump to be oppositional to the establishment United States government. And we could argue, can you ever really trust anyone you don't deeply know? That's a hard thing to say. But, that is the decision that the American people have made. And it is, in my opinion, it is sort of like with limited information, it appears to be the correct decision of all the decisions they have available to them.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I know this is a segment about universities that we spun into talking about the courts and the seeming inability or unwillingness for the Trump administration to functionally declare what amounts to a state of exception. And that's the thing, is it's like, trust the plan is a meme. Trust the plan is something that we at the Old Glory Club have stated before, that I personally have stated before. But the thing is like even our patience has limits, and it gets to the point where how many people in Trump's administration know what time it is?
Yeah. And as I've said a few times I've been on here, like, I have to keep repeating it. There's going to be 10 million fewer boomers in 4 years. If you're not deporting 2.5 million a year, you are losing the country per person you don't deport. That it has to get done. We're halfway through this year, and we're only at like 150,000 deportations. That's less than 10% of what needs to be done. It needs to, like, by a power of 10, accelerate. Now, maybe when this big, beautiful bill passes, they'll have the money and manpower to kick that up. But, like, we're talking about a power of 10 increase of what they've been doing so far. And I don't know, doubling the amount of money you throw at an agency doesn't seem like it'll get me a power of 10 response. I've never known that to happen in all my life of watching government funding go up and up. Seems like the efficiency goes down and down the more you fund it. So I'm hoping Trump knows what he's doing in this, because, like, you got to deport like 2 million people in 6 months at this point. How are you going to do it?
But this is why I appeal to the fact that leadership always has access to information that just about everyone else, or a very small number, doesn't have access to. And they may very well have models that show them how flawed the how not flawed, how fragile the global system is, and how fragile the country is, and how much a executive choice, a state of exception, may cause some kind of, how should I say, crisis that no one wants. I mean, except for us. But once that, like I say, once that Rubicon is crossed, there's no going back. And I think this administration wants to keep as much of a semblance of normalcy as possible, and hence that's why they're trying to be as restrained as possible with these universities. Despite the fact that these universities are populated by some of the most disgusting, cretinous, and frankly backwards, quote unquote, experts that the world has to offer. One of whom our very own Dave the Distributist debated recently.
Well, it's odd because you're talking about the Nathan Coffness discussion. Nathan Coffness supposedly is a right winger. He's known for trying to mainstream the HBD thing for the I don't know, he's been doing it for like 2 years. He came to my attention because he wrote an article criticizing Heterodox Academy. But then, what's so funny is he realized that Heterodox Academy was useless because they essentially just dissented on free speech, and then they gave power back to the experts on every other issue. So then, this year he writes an article about how there needed to be more of a deference to experts, which, like he said, okay, they lied about COVID, they lied about the, Joe Biden's health, they lied about any number of things, transgenderism, the lab leak theory, and even admits that they've been lying about global warming in certain key ways. And then his thesis is, no, but we need to listen to the experts on tariffs because, like, there's a consensus, and also on Israel because there's a consensus. And I don't. And I guess the problem with the hump of Coffness's he does in the article, what kind of caused me to do a double take when I read it is he has this line that says the experts got it right all the time. They just lied. So and I continuously kind of grilled him on this. He didn't seem to understand the difference between an error, like a random error, like I'm stupid or I'm drunk or I just made a mistake, and an intentional lie. And I don't know. I mean, this is kind of an interesting philosophical problem. I could go over it. I can see you have my graph up here, but the funny thing is just how I kind of was expecting him to kind of concede this point and move on, but he just wouldn't let go of it. He seems so invested, and it was almost kind of like a Sam Harris moment. It's like, okay, we could admit that the experts were wrong, and we can admit the experts were lying, but now we have to go back and trust the experts even harder until we prove that they're lying again. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is just what you should expect from the Academy these days. But
Dave,
yeah.
Dave, didn't he just really make the point that, I mean, I tuned that after 45 minutes, man. I'm sorry, I couldn't make it. But didn't he try to make the point that being wrong, that lying wasn't as bad as being wrong?
Yeah. He said that it depends whether lying is worse than being wrong depends on the context. And I think I'm going to steel man him here. I think what he's thinking of is we're going to look at the information after it happens and then evaluate each untruth utilitarianly based on how much it cost us as a society. But that's not what you're doing when you're interpreting facts as they come from a truth teller. You're not evaluating the facts, you're evaluating the actor or the fact system and saying, how much can I trust this fact system? That's why all of the journals that, every journal that I publish and every journal that he's published in, if you publish a mistake, they'll be very understanding, some more than others, obviously. If you publish an intentional hoax, you will never publish in that journal again, and probably won't publish in many others either in that field. But I guess we unlearn this when it comes to things like Israel. Right? We unlearn this when it comes to things like tariffs. And what's so funny is that I'm actually, just as a personal matter, I am highly skeptical of tariffs. I do think that NAFTA kind of got us into this situation, but it does not necessarily stand to reason that undoing NAFTA will get us out of it. Like, things aren't symmetrical that way in economics, right? And you could end up hurting the system more with tariffs than not. But that's not the point. The point is that there's a refusal to even engage in an analysis of the economic state of being, and all you get is just appeals to expert consensus against all data.
You're reminding me of something that I've been trying to hunt this down. It's an article from, I think, 2018, right before COVID came.
Mm-hmm.
And it was explaining institutional trust collapse under Trump and before. And a little detail in this article, which I wish I could find, was that it was outlining what institutions are still trusted. And it was a political article, and they were saying Democrats should focus on these still trusted institutions if they hope to nourish voters in the next election. And it outlined above on the top medical professionals. At that time in 2018, they were the most trusted institution.
Yeah, I trusted them too. I thought that was part of the Academy that hadn't been corrupted.
Yeah, and reflecting on what I can remember from this article, it was almost lining them up as like, listen, guys, we know anyone you pick, you're going to shit to the bed in. So just do it one at a time. Don't do it all at once.
Yeah.
And you might be able to extend your power for a few extra years.
But now that we've established that we can't trust doctors anymore, at least we have our experts on Israel. Like, that's the one honest institution. That's the one area of research in the modern academy that we can trust, is the expert consensus on Israel.
I mean, it seems like every 2 years they pick whatever's the most trusted institution to build the party platform on, and when they burn that down, they move on to the next like a parasite. And you can only do this so many times before there's no trusted institutions left.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem. They're just going to whatever they can kind of use to get credibility for the next round. So it's just a continuous hopping off the lily pads onto the next one. You know, you might have a clip lined up, but I assume this is the one. Well, you know, I don't know if people are going to play it, but you know, there's not going to be trust in institutions if they continuously lie, and that's what Nathan Coffness doesn't understand. People will not trust lying systems unless those systems are purged and punished, and there is a demarcation that the past was, that there was a mistake made. There's a reckoning. You can't just go like, oh, we're really, really, really smart, so trust us again. Like, once we've established that, I mean, I'm going to say this on the show, but like the New York Times has essentially admitted the lab leak theory at this stage. Like, they've admitted it. It's over. And they've also admitted that there was a cover up. And I mean, it's very obvious the New York Times is part of that. They obviously blame the scientists. That means that essentially our institutional scientific establishment has murdered millions more people than the establishment of the USSR responsible for Chernobyl. Like, is there any reckoning about this? Like, you know, there was a reckoning in Chernobyl. Like, people were put on trial very publicly. So what happened?
Well, in many ways, that's why we're not going down the peaceful breakup of the Soviet Union model. We're going down the burning down in flames like late French Republic model. It's very like this need to grasp onto this thing that has lost trust because you don't know any other framework of viewing reality. It's probably going to take their party down with them, which is great. But it also means that if you can like go deeper and convince the voter no institution is trustworthy, there's a phrase for it, cannibalization maybe of institutions to get political capital, the model collapses.
Well, it's like how, you know, petroleum generates electricity. Is, you know, you shatter the bonds in the chemical itself, which releases energy, which powers whatever system. This is an extreme oversimplification. I'm not a chemist, but it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same principles. It's like,
it goes from a high energy state to a low energy state.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Catabalism. The phrase isn't cannibalism; it's catabolism. Catabolism.
As in catabolic.
Yeah. Catabolic degeneracy.
Well, it's you know, and it's a powerful system, but the problem is it feeds on itself. You know, and it's reaching its absolute, you know, the absolute limit that it can reach without. Because was it the DEI, the trans stuff? We've got a couple of other stories that's going to touch on this. I don't want to get too much in depth, but it's the high water mark, and they've already started going the other way. They have nothing left to burn. What institution of the government still has credibility and trust?
Well, in an administrative state, everything becomes administrative. The academy, the churches, everything. That's just where we're at this point. And they need someone like Coffness needs to defend his position. He's already somebody who has stepped out on the limb with HBD, which, I mean, I don't think that's so much stepping out on a limb anymore. I think he decided to do something at a time when, you know, when they
were going to have to do this anyway. Yeah,
the danger was going down. So it's almost like a limited hangout. If you know the limited hangout kind of.
You could see them doing with this lab leak theory too. Like in 2022, they tested the waters for admitting it, and they withdrew.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you, Pete. Go ahead.
No. It's a perfect example. When it's okay to be edgy boy when something's already on the way out, but by pointing out that if the academy is now just one big lie and that people share in the lie and people glom onto the lie, it's my whole thing of academics getting kicked out of losing their jobs for plagiarism. It's like, how can you plagiarize when you all have the same opinion? I mean, that's literally impossible. So it's basically white blood cells now. It's just protect, 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 protect. And if you're calling them all a liar, you're putting his job is on the line. Good.
No, I mean, I'm laughing, Pete, because that's exactly what I said to Chris Rufo. I said, like, going after Claudine Gay or whatever for plagiarism. These people all, like, they have no original ideas. The only thing she didn't do is put it in her own words. But it's been all the same ideas in those departments for the last 20 years.